How should the church and parents approach this? Let's say that children or a church member is from this community, or if the parent finds out that the child is a homosexual. So, how should the church and parents approach this?
Right. I think just like the parents would approach any other issue that the child is having, that's the same way a parent has to approach this. I'm not trying to kind of unweigh the seriousness of, altered sexual preference of a child born in a Christian family. But then what I'm saying is, don't kind of elevate this particular issue to be the most vicious issue, ever on the surface of planet Earth. It is a serious issue. It is an issue that will upset more parents. I think it should be approached at three levels. I would say it has to be approached first at the knowledge level, and then it has to be approached at the understanding level, and finally at the wisdom level. Well, a parent has to first of all try to understand and bridge the knowledge gap that is already there about the idea of sexuality, the idea of, let's say, same-sex attraction, or the struggles of gender identity, not just scripturally, but also in some ways try to understand it, let's say, biologically. Okay, let's assume a Christian parent has an intersex child. This child is born that way. It is a birth anomaly. It is a congenital problem. It is a biological issue. There are hormones in his body that are not, the way it is for any typical binary male or female. And let's say their chromosomal makeup would be XXY, for example, if you're speaking of Klinefelter syndrome. And so the first thing is we can't be very simplistic about our understanding of this. We can't club it all together in one lot. Like I told you, the difference and the distinction between LGB and T. LGB is very different, T is very, very different, and intersex is even more different. And we are only looking at 5 different things, but the LGBTQ acronym is a string long. So we're talking about an issue that we need to know more about and understand more about. So parents have to try to bridge the knowledge gap. Second thing they'll try to do is, after having assimilated information and data, theological and scientific, then they need to try to understand the thinking and the emotions and the psychology behind this. Okay, oftentimes, people in this community could have lingering questions or confusions about their identity. They could be asking questions about their identity in the wrong place. They could be thinking that identity is only a matter of sexual expression, and the whole idea of rationality, the whole idea of creativity, the whole idea of altruism, the whole idea of ethics and all of that, are not in their definition of identity. So they're looking for identity in the wrong places. They may not have proper role models, or they may not, let us say, for example, have had the luxury and the liberty of having both sets of parents showering them with understanding and kindness and grooming them. Or in some places, they might have been ridiculed and teased for, let's say, a delayed development. Okay, I distinctly remember that when I was in class 6, it was too early, my voice cracked. Till then I had a teeny weeny voice, and all of a sudden, I reached puberty. I only realized that very later on, but my voice cracked and I was croaking like a frog, and I felt very embarrassed. Very soon I developed, tufts of hair and beard and mush. Too early for a boy in class 6, and I felt very embarrassed. It could be just the opposite. It could be that, even at 14 and 15, somebody's voice may not crack, somebody may not develop facial hairs. And for that person, if all the community around them gives them an impression that, he is not typically, a male, then that person starts thinking, oh, maybe I'm not a male because my voice isn't cracked, I don't have facial hair, and so on and so forth. So many of these things can be influenced by the people around, and influenced by culture, influenced by society. My daughter Michelle is 7 years old, and she, though she is a girl, she hates playing with, let's say, Barbie dolls. Okay, and she likes to swing from one end to the other end of the house on a contraption that she's made. She likes to jump on sofas, to the point of mother saying, why does she play such boyish games? So we have this idea of this is boyish, this is girlish. Girls should like pink, boys should like blue, and and all kinds of social construct. And so if a boy finds that he doesn't want to be rough and tough and boxing and pushing, and he likes to be at home, then you immediately the family around him calls him a homie, calls him a softie. And then he begins to think, oh, maybe I'm a homie, maybe I'm a softie, and maybe I should behave like one. So all of these things, have a bearing on tender minds and tender hearts. And research says that as early as 1 and 2 years, all of these cues, even though they don't understand it, nurture them and make them into what they later on would express themselves and identify themselves as or with.